Hi, environmental scientists. This is your video for module number 7. As always, this module starts with a warm-up, so pause this video and attempt that warm-up as practice for upcoming quizzes or tests. In this module, we're going to learn about 2 nutrient cycles, 2 elements cycling through the spheres of Earth. They are the nitrogen and phosphorus cycles. So let's start here with notes. Click the link for notes 5 and make a copy. So here we have nitrogen and phosphorus cycles. In this set of notes, we're gonna answer the question, how do essential nutrients cycle through the Earth's spheres? We have some fill in the blank and a couple of diagrams. So once this is all loaded up, make sure to move it to the correct folder. It's important to stay organized with these notes. You should have a good buildup of notes so far in Unit 1, the Earth. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so nitrogen. Nitrogen is an element on the periodic table. It's number 7. You might remember it from other units in science classes. So why is it important to us to have in our bodies? Well, it is a key element in the molecule DNA. All of the little rungs of the ladder, they are composed of a lot of nitrogen. Look at how many N's you see in each of these molecules. So it's one reason you need nitrogen, and of course DNA is in every single one of your cells. It's also important for growth and reproduction. So not only is it in the DNA of your cells, but it has a role in growth and reproduction. And to make proteins, which is basically what all of your cells do. They make various proteins. They need nitrogen for it. So let's summarize how nitrogen moves around the different spheres of Earth. First off, nitrogen is stored in the atmosphere. We just learned in our last module that the atmosphere is made up of almost 80% nitrogen. So that's where it all is waiting to be a part of living things, but it's not usable in that form. So when we take a deep breath, we are not using any of the nitrogen that we just breathed in. We can't. So we rely on other things, and those things are bacteria. There are many different types of bacteria, and a lot of them are ones that can fix nitrogen into the soil in forms that can be used by living things. So certain living things, bacteria, can actually use the nitrogen in its form in the atmosphere, and they perform chemical reactions that can turn it into a different form, a different molecule, and put it in the soil where it can be absorbed by plants. So once it's in different forms, it can be absorbed through plant roots from the soil. So we've gone from having our nitrogen in the atmosphere to in the soil, which is the geosphere, and then it can be absorbed by plants, so it's moving into the biosphere. From plants, animals can then eat the plants to obtain the nitrogen. Okay, so this rabbit might eat this plant, and it would be eating a lot of nitrogen that's in the plant. What about animals that don't eat plants? Well, they'll come around and eat animals that have nitrogen in them from eating plants. All right, so why are nitrogen fixing bacteria so important? Well, I encourage you to pause this video and watch this video to answer that question. All right, we're going to move on to phosphorus. So phosphorus is another element on the periodic table. It's number 15, and it happens to be right underneath the element nitrogen. Is that a coincidence? Probably not, but we won't get into the chemistry. So why is phosphorus important for living things? Well, for one thing, it is super important for building strong teeth and bones. And you might be thinking, well, isn't that calcium? Yes, but phosphorus is needed for proper use and absorption of calcium. So we need them both. It's also important for your nerves and muscles to work. So nerves control your body and muscles do the actual moving of your body. So both of those require phosphorus. And it is a super important ingredient in energy that is produced in your body. So when your body breaks down food and digests it in order to make energy for your cells, phosphorus is an important element in the energy it makes. Here's a molecule of ATP, and the P is for phosphorus or phosphates, and there are 3 of them in a chain of this molecule. Okay, so how does the phosphorus cycle work? Well, phosphorus mostly comes from rocks and soil, so the solid non-living parts of Earth can contain a lot of phosphorus in them. So it starts off in the geosphere. And from the soil or the rocks where it came from, plants are able to absorb this element along with water in their roots. The phosphorus can move from the geosphere to the biosphere relatively easily. And then, of course, just like nitrogen, animals come along and eat the plants, and other animals that don't eat plants eat the animals to obtain their phosphorus. Eventually, it moves through the digestive tract of animals and it is returned to the soil or the geosphere through waste, otherwise known as manure, and fertilizer contains phosphorus in it because it is so important for plants. And so it can be recycled back to the geosphere where it came from through manure or, in some cases, fertilizer, like gardeners or farmers would do. And then if there's a lot of phosphorus in the geosphere, the soil, it can be washed into water. So into rivers, into groundwater, into lakes or the ocean. Phosphorus can build up there. And actually animals can just drink the water with phosphorus in it and obtain phosphorus through that method. Okay, so to review what we just learned and to learn how over-fertilizing plants can potentially be harmful, watch this video. And that brings us to the end of the notes, and let's see what we have as an assignment on this module. Click next. This is a website. We're actually going to look at it in another module because we didn't have time in class, but it is a nice animation of how the nitrogen cycle works, so I included it. And your homework is the 4 spheres observation. So this actually is not related to nitrogen and phosphorus cycles, but I don't want you to forget about the 4 spheres that we just learned about. We learned about 3 of them. So you're going to observe outside, whether you're looking out the window or sitting outside, and you're going to create a list of the individual things that you see that are a part of each of these spheres. So geo, hydro, atmos, and bio. You're going to put 5 things in each list. Now, I have a special note about the atmosphere. It's right here. Look for things that interact with the atmosphere, either by taking in gases or giving off gases. They can be natural or man-made. The atmosphere is a tough one to observe because you just look and you see air and that's it. So rather than just everybody putting air for their one thing, I want you to see if you can get creative and look for either natural or man-made things that take in gases from the atmosphere or give off gases. So things that exchange gases with the atmosphere. Everything else should be pretty easy to make lists of. All right, that is your homework. We'll go over it on Tuesday in class. So I'll see you next time.